Microphone check 212. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to It's the Bearded Man podcast with your favorite, the world's favorite bearded man, Bob Bay 2021. We in the building. The Bearded Man's back. 2 weeks off and I'm back and I'm fired up and I'm ready to get back into dropping some of the highest quality, most slept on podcast content in the world. Let's go. And also, what is extremely exciting about me recording this podcast right now is this is coming from the new Bearded Man Podcast HQ in Venice, California. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We made the move from the last podcast that I dropped at the end of 2020 and then to now, 2 full weeks. We shut it down. We went back to Massachusetts for the holidays, got to spend high quality time with family, saw some friends. Literally 2 friends because obviously COVID and whatnot. And then while I was back, we locked in a new lease in Venice with 2 of my homies. And wow, 2021 is going to be the best year yet. I'm speaking it into existence. I'm manifesting everything in my mind that I can see my life becoming. I'm going to do it. Ain't no mountain high enough. She starts singing. I got the mics, baby. Don't tempt me. Don't tempt me. But man, literally, I got to be honest with you guys and gals, literally a dream come true to be recording this podcast live. Well, it's not live, but I record these and it's technically live, but you guys won't hear until it's done in post-production. But I went for a little stroll around the block today just to split up my day during my lunch. And happiness, I don't think it comes from material things. It needs to come from within. But I think the headspace that this is going to put me into is going to be another level, and just the amount of amazing community of people that I've met in the past 2 years that are based in Venice and what I'm about to tap into now that I'm living here. I can't wait. I'm just so grateful and so excited, and I could spend a whole podcast talking about being in Venice, but I'm not going to do that because none of you guys and gals care. So I'm not here to waste your time, but I'm excited to be back for 2021, and I hope you guys and gals are ready. We got a lot of great content coming. I think if I'm thinking about big term for this year for this podcast, I'm unattached to the results. I'm not worried about the analytics. I know that if it's great content, the numbers will come. People will share it through mutual friends and whatnot. So I'm not worried about necessarily the results. Do I want this podcast to blow up? Absolutely. But that's not my number one goal. It literally doesn't make or break this project because I'm going to keep doing this regardless. I will not and I cannot be stopped, as I've said many of times. But really, this year is just about focusing on providing the highest quality content possible that I can create. I got a lot of room for improvement. There's a lot of amazing guests in the pipeline and people that I see from afar that I'm like, yo, I want that person on this podcast ASAP. So it's just a matter of, reaching out and lining up the dots. But I definitely just want to keep pumping out great content for some, just the guest aspect. And then, of course, more solo bearded man therapy session content like this. Just me, you, we're vibing, we're catching a couple vibes, and it's going to be a great podcast. So a lot more of this is to come, but just so excited. And I hope you guys and gals are excited too. And if you missed episode 53 that came out at the end of 2020 and you're trying to incorporate some new habits, go check it out because I spent the whole podcast diving into that. And yeah, we're going to have a great year. Everybody that's listening, if you're hearing this, there is no option B. We are going to crush it as a team. To kick off the new year, we had episode 54 of the podcast come out today with my girl, Alexis Soul, one of the most slept on tattoo artists in Los Angeles. Matter of fact, the world, even though she's not slept on because she got 50,000 followers on IG. She is popping. But she's actually the tattoo artist of all 5 tattoos that I have. My little baby tattoos. I wouldn't call them pieces, but you know how that goes. I'm inked up. I got tattoos on my arm. I got tattoos on my leg. You know what I'm saying? Hand. What's up? I don't actually think I'm that cool, but yeah. Anywho, it was incredible to connect with Alexis. We did a podcast about 3 years ago on my old show, Purpose in the Youth, and to reconnect with her now and just both of our progress over these last couple of years, it was incredible. And I'm a big fan of not only her work, but her mindset. She pushes so much great energy through social media. And anytime that I see her and get a chance to talk to her, it's always nothing but good vibes. And I was really happy with this podcast. So she's young. She's only like 23 and she's absolutely crushing it. So Alexis Soul to kick off the podcast for 2021, which means we got more great content on the way. And definitely, like I said in past podcasts, trying to balance it out. I don't want this to be heavily male-focused podcast, which I've done in the past. Not intentionally. Just happened to be that the guys that I was getting connected to and the people I was getting connected to happened to be males. But I'm going to be doing my best to make sure I get a lot of females and balance this project out. 50-50. That's what I'm shooting for this year. Also got to give a quick shout out to my mom. She sent me this candle for my birthday, and I told her my birthday was December 11th, for those who don't know. Happy belated, Bob. Hey, 27, let's get it. She sent me this like lemon-scented candle, and I told her I wasn't going to light it up until I got a new spot, and I lit it up, and it's fantastic. So to go into today's podcast, I figure light this bad boy up, and it smells good. I wish I could sprinkle the lemonness to you guys and gals, but unfortunately, mics can't do that just yet. Soon enough, they will. All right, that's enough housekeeping. Before we get into today's podcast, friendly reminder, I know you guys and gals all know, and you're probably like, yo, Bob, hey, shut up. We get it. But I got to remind you, because sometimes we forget. If you enjoy these podcasts at all at any moment in time, please screenshot this episode, post it to your IG story, tag me at Bob A, B-O, 3 B's, 4 A's, and a Y, and let your friends and community know why you enjoy this podcast. And if you're listening on Spotify, there's a nice little button where you can hit share and you post it to your IG story and you tag me and the whole world gets to learn about the bearded man. And that's how we grow this project organically. So those that do it, I really appreciate it. And if you haven't already, now's the time to do it. Or do it during the podcast at some point. Okay? Thank you so much. All right. Thank you. Seriously. I had to do it, but I know everyone's sick of hearing me talk about it. Today's topic, really excited for episode 55. Open to everything, attached to nothing. That's the motto. That is the mindset that I'm living by for 2021. Put the stake in the ground, put the sign up. That's what I'm going by. Now, for the most part, I'm a rather open-minded individual, but I want to push myself even more outside the comfort zone. I think I do a really good job, especially in the last couple months of like, if you've been following this podcast project of trying to build community and trying to meet people and try new experiences and, get back into the podcast game. When I put my mind on something and my heart on something, I do it. I just commit to it, and I'm my biggest critic if I don't follow through. I think, and I had already decided on this like quote, which I'll give credit in a bit to who and how I heard about this, but I kind of heard this during a podcast like in November, and then I was like, you know what? This is gonna be when my birthday. Sorry, I can't even freaking speak. It's the end of the day. That's what happens when I do these podcasts tonight. On my 27th birthday, I thought about what does this next year look like from 27 to 28? How do I summarize it? And the quote that I thought of that made the most sense is open to everything, attached to nothing. So let's break it down into two parts. The first part, open to everything. Part one. I want to ignore this voice that happens to be in all of our heads that debates yes or no, and I just want to do. I don't want to, especially with this move to Venice now. This is putting me even to a bit better pocket of opportunities and experiences. And I'm telling myself now, and I know I'll hold myself accountable, so I'm not worried about that, because if I don't, your boy's going to be crushing himself. He's going to be talking that shit to himself. But I just want to ignore the voice in my head that debates, oh, yes or no. And I just want to do. I just want to listen to my intuition. And if something feels right, I just want to do it. So whether that be literally hitting up some hiking spots in LA, talk to my girl Lauren over the weekend at this run club that I do. She's been to 1 million hiking spots. I've never been to one in LA, and I've been here for 3 years. I said, Lauren, hit me up. Let's do it. So we're going to make that happen. I want to get better at surfing. I want to try new restaurants. This is pretty pathetic, but pretty much had my first family-style Thai food this weekend. I know, it's sad. Maybe you're making fun of me already. It's okay. I've always been somebody that just eats what makes sense to me, in the sense that I know I'll enjoy this meal, so I always continue to buy that meal, whether it's, I'm not going to get into the foods, but anyway, I always stuck to restaurants and food that I knew that worked for me. But I went into this dinner this weekend, open-minded, like I've never really had a Thai dinner, like why not just try it? And it was incredible. I had like 10 different meals. We all shared. It was fantastic. So that was another moment I was like, Bobby, you got to keep doing this. Keep pushing yourself. Keep trying new things. And ultimately, the goal is to do things that genuinely interest me. I don't want to let other opinions sway me from not doing something. I just want to do what feels right. So that's part one, open to everything. The bearded man is open to everything. Part two of this quote, attached to nothing. Okay. We also have this voice in our head that tells ourselves bad stories, and instead we need to learn to let go and go with the flow of life. Attached to nothing. What do I mean by that? My God, I am stuttering. Bobby, it's 2021. You got to come in hot for these podcasts. Let's go. I don't want to be attached to material items. I don't want to be attached to the uncontrollables in my life. Whether this pod episode shits the bed and I can't recover the file, whether it's, some asshole cuts me off on the road. Sorry, he's probably a nice person, but, they cut me off and I had to slam on my brakes. It's a big deal, you know what I'm saying? Or how someone feels about me, right? I can't control that. That's the uncontrollable. So I don't want to feel attached to the things that I can't control. Another example would be, I don't want to be attached to the download growth of this podcast. If it takes off, fantastic. If nobody listens, what can I do? But keep going, because I ain't going to stop, baby. Them haters keep talking. The world keeps sleeping on me. I'm going to keep going. Don't you freaking worry. But I'm trying to just not be attached to anything other than what I can control. I want to wake up every day in 2017. Whoa, 2017. It's 2021. I want to wake up every day and only focus on what I can control. Only what I can control. Daily, I'm trying to get better and better of just letting go of what's happened in the past, letting go of situations that might be currently happening, and letting go of thinking about the future. I just want to be focused in the now, and I don't want to attach myself to anything that's uncontrollable, anything that's materialistic. I just want to go with the flow of life, open to everything, attached to nothing. How beautiful is that? Got to give credit where credit is due. John Kilmer, episode 44 of It's the Bearded Man podcast. Now, he's not the originator of this quote. If you Google it, unfortunately, you won't see John's beautiful face, but through the podcast that we did for episode 44, I've heard it previously, but when he talked about it in the podcast that we did, kind of had a little light bulb moment. I was like, I like this. I like this guy and I like this quote. I should probably hold on to it. And so now it's incorporating into my 2021 motto. So how do we live an open-minded lifestyle? This has taken me definitely some time of working on and getting better at. Like anything, it takes repetition, and it doesn't just happen at the snap of a finger. It's not going to happen overnight, okay? I don't have all the answers. This is just my bearded man experience. So let me remind you guys and gals, I tell you this every episode. I don't have all the answers, but this is just from what I've experienced and what I've learned. So what has helped me? Okay, number one, surround yourself with an open-minded community. This fits under the open to everything. This is the easiest first step and will impact you in more ways than you could have ever imagined. These are the types of people that we need to surround ourselves with because they encourage us to try new things. They care about who we are versus what we do. They are genuine, good-hearted, and kind people. They are excited for life and new experiences. And the key is they ask how versus why. They aren't worried about, why do you want to surf? Why do you want to start that podcast? Why? Instead, they're helping us reverse engineer by asking, how are we going to do it? What's your plan, B.O.B.? You want to stop being the most slept on podcast in the world? What you going to do? Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to keep dropping that high quality content, and brick by brick, we're going to get out there. But today, it's not about me. It's about all you beautiful folks. So, oddly enough, when we are an open-minded person, we attract those who think the same way, right? By trying and doing the things that we want to do, you surround yourself with people that are on the same path. So let me give you an example. When I joined the Grand Running Club here in LA, 3-4 months ago, I was going into this with the intent. I wanted to meet more people in LA. I wanted to build community. And I also wanted to get in a nice sweat. And it just so happens That's why all those people were there too. They could just go run down the block by themselves, but they wanted to build community. They wanted to meet new people. And so everybody that's there has an open-mindedness about meeting new people. And yes, some of us are more extrovert than introvert. That's okay. Lean into your strengths. But at the same time, you're surrounding yourself with people that are on the same wave as you. If you don't feel like you're surrounded by people that inspire you or push you to do the things you want to do, know that these people exist, okay? It takes time, it takes effort and courage to throw yourself out there, but you got to do it. The amount of progress, it is weird for me to say this because we're in the midst of a pandemic, and I think it's mostly because of living in LA. There's outdoors, the weather's good, people can go to the beach and spread out. But the last 4 months of my life have been the strongest community building that I've had in 3 years of living in LA. A lot of opportunity to meet people. You know, if there was like a Friendsgiving, everyone did the COVID test beforehand. There have been precautions going into some of the bigger events, but I have very fortunately met a lot of incredible people in these last couple months. But I would be lying to you if I said that it was easy. Because I remember right when I was really putting in the effort, probably September, October, I pretty much was forcing myself to show up to events and opportunities where there was 50 plus people and I knew one person. And so even as an extrovert, you still got to play the game of like trying to get to know everybody, and it's not easy to do. But if the bearded man can do it, so can you. So the key is, if you're not surrounded by the people that inspire you or that are open-minded, and you want to be surrounded by those people, join clubs and organizations and try things where you're going to find people that are similar-minded as you. And then secondly, be patient and put in the effort. It's going to fall into place with time. But the one thing I always reminded myself when I was throwing myself out there, introducing myself, trying to shake hands with anybody and everybody, I always knew at the end of the day, no matter what happens, I got nothing to lose and everything to gain. So that's what you guys and gals should keep in mind as well. So that's number one, surround yourself with an open-minded community. It'll be really, really important. Number two, follow your curiosity. This falls under the open to everything aspect of the quote. Nobody can teach you to be curious because we all have different interests and tastes. What I'm interested in is not necessarily what you're interested in. So that I don't know how to teach somebody to be curious. I remember somebody had asked me that in a DM one time, and I was like, that's a great question because I actually don't know how the answer. I don't know what the answer is. But what I can do is I can give you permission to follow your intuition and your heart and to do the things you actually want to do. Okay? I know we're in the midst of the COVID pandemic, and so, you know, if you wanted to sign up for a yoga class, you can't go to the yoga studio and get the actual experience. But you can do it online and from the comfort of your home. So try it. Maybe you've always been inspired to try skateboarding. You saw Tony Hawk. You want to get out there and shred them streets. Fun fact about me, I tried skateboarding too when I was young. And I ate shit. I got the wind knocked out of me. Never got back up on the board. Boo-hoo, Babe. But you could try it. Maybe you're the next Tony Hawk or you're the next pro skater. Maybe you want to pick up a brush and start painting. Follow your heart and intuition. Follow that curiosity of like, oh, I wonder what it'd be like to paint. I wonder what it'd be like to start a podcast. I wonder what it'd be like to cook. There's only one way to find out. You got to follow that curiosity. And the beauty of following your curiosity is that it can and it will take you places that you never imagined. There is no way to write a perfect blueprint right in this moment. There's no way to know where it's going to take you. Great Steve Jobs quote. I've said it probably many times on this podcast, so I apologize if you've heard it too many times, but he once said, you can't connect the dots looking forward, you can only connect them looking backwards. And that is something that I really am inspired by. You know, let's look at the bearded man, for example. Had I never started podcasting in 2016, I would have never met all these amazing and incredible individuals that have become my friends. One of them I live with now. Shout out to Robbie Page if you hear this. I met him through podcasting. One of them I work for, Brandon Cohen, founder of Liquid IV, and I met him through podcasting. And there's a list of other incredible guests that I've met through podcasting that I now hang with and are now friends of mine. And what I did to get to this point was I just kept putting in time and energy into this project, because not just this project, but podcasting itself, because I enjoyed it and I believed in it. I wasn't worried about the results. I was worried about just making progress day by day. And there was all these great things and amazing things happening along the way. I'll never forget episode 50. I recorded it at VaynerMedia in New York City with Tyler Babin. VaynerMedia is Gary V's office, essentially. And I couldn't believe that within a year, this idea and concept had took me to the office of the man that really had inspired me to keep going for the first year. And it just felt incredible. And there have been countless of other amazing moments that I could spend literally a whole podcast talking about. But all to say, if I had to give that advice to somebody, it's that the only thing I did was I just followed my curiosity and I kept putting in the work. And so if there's something that you're interested in, I push you. If you have nobody that's pushing you, here it is. I push you and I wish you to actually pursue that thing and try it, because there's nothing I can say exactly of how this is going to benefit you or where it's going to take you. But what I always told myself, I could live the rest of my life knowing that I tried it versus not trying it at all. And another reminder, you can't be great to start. You have to start in order to become great. We see everybody at the finish line, but we have no idea what it took them to get there. So use the people you look up to as motivation. Know that they started off not knowing exactly what they were doing. And as a matter of fact, if you ask them today, do you know what you're doing? They're probably going to laugh and say, I have no idea. It's still just a work in progress. They have a direction, of course. They've had a lot of success. Yes, I'm sure. But they're still honing in on the craft. The only way they got there was by starting. And so the only way you start is you follow that curiosity. So number 2, follow your curiosity. That's part of open to everything. All right, let's have a quick water break. A little H2O, you know what I'm saying? My voice sounded a little raspy. Well, the good news is, moved from Hawthorne to Venice. Still got some high quality water coming out that faucet. Let's go. Water filter, don't worry. I'm not drinking out of a faucet. I know you guys and gals care about me and you don't want me to kick the can tomorrow. Some high quality water, don't you worry. Number 3, fail forward. This is part of open to everything. We oftentimes fail to start, and it goes right off of what you're just talking about. You can't be great to start. You have to start in order to become great. It goes right along it just follows. It's like dominoes. This is well played, Bobby. We oftentimes fail to start and pursue something because we quote unquote might fail. Boo hoo. We are afraid to fall on our face because we think that people are going to laugh at us. But here's the best part. This is what I've learned. This is what I've seen. This is what I've taken note as I've met a tremendous amount of successful people, I think, in my short bearded man content career. And I feel very fortunate. But this is the best part. What I've seen from afar, documentaries, YouTube, the whole works. Nobody is going to say a word to you when you fail. Nobody texts you and says, yo, Bobby, sick job failing on that podcast. Ha, ha, ha. Nobody hits you up. Nobody will hit you up if and when you fail. Everybody is going to have something to say to you, though, when you succeed. Interesting, huh? When I'm not doing well, nobody wants to talk to me. But the moment I start getting success, everybody wants a piece of the pie. So what do you really have to lose? Nothing. Failing is part of living a dope-ass life formula. What's that formula include? You living your best life. You can't skip it. It's like the whipped cream on top of your pancakes. You need it. Failing is going to come alongside success and alongside finding what you really want to do with your life. Key, though, is failing forward. This isn't just a failure when we hit little speed bumps along the journey of life. We're always failing forward. And it's not about feeling down because we might have screwed up or something didn't go according to plan. It's about asking yourself, what did I learn And how will this better prepare me for the future? Because now you have more tools in your toolbox. You have more experiences to pull off of, and it's only going to better prepare you for the future. If anybody wants to bad talk you, call you out on your failure, thank them. Why? Because they just poured 10 gallons of gasoline on that fire inside you. You got to let that shit fuel you up, and you got to keep going. But remember, fail forward. There is no such thing as a failure. You're only failing forward because you're learning and you're getting sharper, and it's going to help you better prepare yourself for the future. Fourth and final part, your mind is your worth. This is the attached. Whoa, excuse me, a little hiccup. Your mind is your worth. This is part of attached to nothing. Oh, we got LAPD helicopter flying over. 6'2", eyes, bird in the sky. We got our eyes on the bearded man. He's cooking up some high quality content, calling the SWAT, break down the doors, take him over. Didn't actually say that. Okay. Once again, your mind is your worth. You're attached to nothing. This is the attached to nothing aspect. Our most important asset is not our car. It's not our laptop, not our house, not our shoes, not our bed, not my beard. Yes, I know I said it. Not the beard. Not TV, not a phone, nothing. All of that is replaceable. We don't need to be attached to material things because it's all replaceable. The most important asset that we own, which is free, is our mind. It is our greatest asset. If we can change our mind, we can change the way we see the world in our own life. Like we were just going off of the failure. That's a very simple example. When you fail, do you look at it as like, oh, I screwed up, boo-hoo, I'm such a failure, I'm not good enough, blah, blah, blah? Or do you go, light bulb, I just learned X, Y, and Z, which means this is going to help better prepare me for the future? Do we see the negative in a situation, or do we see the positive? So, where was I? Okay. So like I was saying, if we can change the way we see the world, our perspective, it changes us. Example, did we fail? Yes. I'm redoing my notes. Cool. Pull out the imaginary scissors and cut relationships with all material items that you own. All the uncontrollables, like I talked about earlier in our life, what people say about us, how someone feels about us, what the weather is like today. If we did or didn't get the job, cut out all the bad stories that we make up in our head, trying to find an explanation for everything. Do not be attached to those thoughts. We're learning to be attached to none of it. Nothing. Other than our own mind and trying to train it to see the good in the world. We're like the ocean. We're just going with the flow. And we never force it. And I think there's two ways to treat your mind with care, which I practice daily. This is extremely important in my life. Number one, acknowledge the thoughts, either good or bad, that come into your head, but don't attach yourself to them. If they're good thoughts, like, smile, enjoy it, let that fuel you up. But if it's bad, separate yourself from it. And a lot of this is what I've learned from meditation, which is the second part that I would add, which is take 10 to 20 minutes every day and just find stillness. Disconnect yourself from the world and be at peace with yourself. Quiet down. Put your phone on do not disturb. Turn off music. Turn off everything. Just sit in quietness and just observe your thoughts and see what's bothering you and see what's something that maybe you haven't you've been pushing off facing, and a thought that pops up in your head or whatever it might be. But the stillness is really, really important. So like I was saying, your mind is your worth. That is the fourth piece of what I've learned in just attaching yourself to nothing. Nothing at all except our own mind. No material items, none of it. No. So to recap, ladies and gentlemen, the motto, the mindset that I'm living by for 2021, and I encourage every single one of you to incorporate this into your life: open to everything, attached to nothing. I'm going to use these next 12 months and try to keep my mind wide open 4 realizations that I've had from my personal experience as I talked about today. Number 1, surround yourself with an open-minded community. Very important. It's going to inspire you. These people are not going to ask you, why are you doing it? Why? They're going to ask you how. They're going to help you get to where you want to be. Number 2, follow your curiosity. Extremely important. I can't tell you how to follow your curiosity, but I can tell you this. Follow that intuition when you have an idea and see where it takes you, because you cannot connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards, as Steve Jobs once said. Follow your curiosity. I guarantee you it will take you somewhere that you never would have imagined. Number 3, fail forward. There is no such thing as a failure. It's part of the success formula and finding your passion, finding your purpose. When you fail forward, you try something, you might make a mistake, but what did you learn from it? How can you add this to your toolbox, and how can this help you better prepare yourself for the future? Fail forward. 4th and final piece, your mind is your worth. There's a lot of things in this world you can't control, but you can control your mindset and the way you see the world and how you're experiencing it. Treat it with care, practice stillness, and acknowledge your thoughts, good and bad, but don't attach yourself to a single thought. Ladies and gentlemen, that is it for the podcast of Open to Everything and Attached to Nothing. My challenge for the listeners, for you guys and gals, ask yourself, how can you become a more open-minded individual? Can you change up the community you're surrounded by? Have you not followed your curiosity? Have you not failed forward because you haven't tried? Ask yourself, how can you be a more open-minded individual? And that is my challenge for you going into 2021. Before we wrap up, we have a couple questions, topics from the BMC. That is the Bearded Man community. If you didn't know, we got a community going. It's called the BMC. It sounds like a gym, but it's not. It's not. Kevin Loganshim, importance of challenging beliefs. It's a great question, Kevin. I'll give you an example. When all this politics stuff was going down, in the U.S., if you live in the U.S., I'm not going to get into where I stood on side of the fence, but when politics would get brought up in the conversation, I would just keep an open mind and just try to understand where people are coming from. And if there was something that they said that I didn't necessarily believe, I tried to respect them in my mind for they're entitled to their own opinion. And I also tried to remind myself that people are products of their own environment. So the way we think tends to stem all the way back to our childhood and so many experiences and things that have led us to where we are today. So I think it's important to keep an open mind when it comes to certain beliefs and being respectful of other people for what they might believe in. So I don't know if that answers your question fully, Kevin, but I sure hope it does. But yeah, I think it's important to keep an open mind. And that kind of goes similar with the next question topic from Kris Gibbs. He said, open-mindedness creates more room for empathy. Yeah, Kris, it goes right along what I was kind of just saying. And I think it's just about so many times when I meet somebody or they say something that I hear it in a podcast or whatever it might be, if I don't know them, or it's not if I don't know them, if I don't agree with them, I constantly remind myself of they're a product of their environment. They think and they see the world from that perspective because of so many factors leading up to where they are today. So I'm not like, oh, they got it. I don't allow myself to get frustrated because they don't think the same way as me or they don't agree with me. I just accept it. I go, hey, if I was in their shoes, I probably would think the same way because of X, Y, and Z. So I do agree with you, Kris, and I think open-mindedness creates room for empathy. Third and final topic comes from my man Cass. He says, is travel, especially international, helpful at developing an open mind? Absolutely. Cass, I think you could speak better on this than me because I haven't done enough international travel, and I think you have. But from the very few international travel that I've done, I can distinctly remember flying into Cancun March of 2016. I was going there on spring break. It was my senior year of college, and I remember we were probably 5 minutes out from landing, and the plane was getting lower and lower. And I never in my life actually imagined, like I think in movies I had seen, I don't necessarily know if it was in Mexico, but probably other countries in the world. They'd show like an aerial view of a city, and it's a bunch of metal huts. It's not houses. It's not apartment complexes. It's not, high rises. It's literal huts that people made out of metal. And I saw that flying into Cancun, and it opened my mind quite a bit. And I also think not even just, seeing that, but then the lifestyle and seeing how, people operated. And yeah, I just think travel itself, and which is not, obviously this isn't the time with given everything that's happening in the world, it's literally impossible to do, but even going to the next city over, when I think back to my childhood, if I went over to one town, the next door over, it was a completely different lifestyle. It was a completely different environment. So I think traveling, whether it's the next town over, and especially international, where it's taking you completely out of your environment, I think it's really going to help anybody open their mind to just what this world has to offer. And so I think it's really important. And if you can't afford it, and it's not the right time, obviously given a pandemic, documentaries, and I'm sure there's plenty of shows out there that will give you a taste of it and kind of give you some perspective. So it's a great topic, Cass, and I think you know better than anybody else. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. Aside from me kind of stuttering, I guess I was a little nervous going into this podcast, and a little bit of a delay here and there, but overall, I'm pretty stoked. Episode 55 in the books. 2021, we are here, and we are not going to stop. We're going to have a lot of content coming. If there's any suggestions on topics or guests you guys and gals would like to see on the podcast, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm always trying to give you guys and gals what you want to hear, but I got my eyes on the prize for a bunch of different guests this year, and it's gonna be a great year. Kind of similar to what I was talking about earlier. I don't really know the full blueprint of where this year's gonna take me, but being in Venice, having a great new creative space, living with 2 new roommates, and yes and no, there was no issues with my past 2. I still love them. Shout out to Dylan and Steve. I love you guys. We just had to change it up a bit. I wanted to move to a different part of the city, so no, we're all good. I'm really excited for 2021, and I hope you guys and gals are. If you enjoy this podcast, please screenshot this episode, post it to your IG story, tag me at Bob-A, that's B-O, 3 B's, 4 A's, and a Y. Share it out on your IG story, and let the world know why you listen to this podcast and why they need to listen to it. Helps us grow this podcast organically, and just know that I greatly appreciate it. I smile every single time I see anybody share out my content. I say, let's go. The bearded man slept on. The world gonna wake up soon enough, baby. You best believe that. We'll see you guys and gals soon enough.